All right, welcome back. So we're in the last section for this assignment. So 1.7, which is dividing. So we have the result from a division problem is called the quotient. So we have all four terms now: sum for addition, difference for subtraction, product for multiplication, and quotient for integers, or excuse me, for division. So now what are the rules? We got more rules? Well, there's actually a nice break from the rules, because the rules for division are the same as they were for multiplication. So if the signs are different, the answer is negative. If signs are the same, the answer is positive. So nice break from the rules. Okay, so now as far as writing division, we do have a few different ways that we can write division. So one way is to write it as a fraction. So we want to see how many times the bottom number goes into the top number. So that's one way. Another way would be to use the little line with two dots. And we could also use a slash. So if we said -40/8, that would also be the same thing. So in all three of these cases, we should get the same result, which better be a -5. So that would be that. How about 63 divided by -7? Positive or negative? Yeah, negative. So it should be -9. Okay. So now these next ones, again, we have to be a little careful, but if you're not sure, left to right is the way to go. So let's group together these first two and do those. So we got a negative divided by a negative, so that should be a positive. So +8. And then we want to divide that by -2. So positive divided by a negative should be negative. So we should get a -4. So far, so good. All right, this next one is trying to trip you up. So we want to be really careful. Now, we got 48 divided by 3 times, in parentheses, 12 divided by -4. So what should we do first? Well, we haven't really talked about it formally yet, but anytime you have stuff to do inside of parentheses, you want to do that first. So really, we should tackle the 12 divided by -4 first. We'll leave this part alone for a moment. So we have 48 divided by 3 times 12 divided by -4 is -3. Okay, so now we're here. Now some of you might say, oh, I know what to do. We got division and multiplication. There's a rule. There's a rule that involves all the operations. What is that again? And some of you might say, oh, I think it's something like this, PEMDAS, right? Well, PEMDAS is kind of what we're going to be following, but there's a problem. Some people make mistakes with that because they take this rule too literally. They say, okay, I have to do parentheses first. I have to do exponents next, which we haven't talked about yet. I have to do multiplication. I have to do division, and so on. Well, there's some flexibility in this rule. And the rule actually says that when you get to multiplication and division step, you actually do it in order from left to right. And that's the part that's lost on some people. So you want to be really careful. So in this case, even though the division is first and then the multiplication second, we got to do the division first, because that's the first operation we hit when we go from left to right. And those are the only two operations left in the problem. So if we do this first, that's going to give you 16. And then if we multiply that times -3, we're going to get -48. Now, well, some of you might say, well, it doesn't really matter. What if I did it the other way? Wouldn't it be the same answer? Well, you tell me. If we said 48 divided by, well, 3 times -3 is -9. 48 divided by -9, well, it's not going to be the same as -48. So you will get different answers in some cases. Not everyone, but in most cases you will. So you really got to be careful of that order of operations. We're going to see this in gory detail in 1.8, so which is coming up pretty soon. So, all right, let's wrap up the rest of this, which is just some properties that, again, you should probably know these. You've probably seen them and used them before. So there's 4 of them. Any non-zero number divided by itself is 1. Okay, so any number over itself. Okay. Any number divided by 1 is that number. Okay. So that would be something like, 10 over 1 equals 10. So that's a pretty common rule. 0 divided by any non-zero number is 0. Any non-zero number divided by 0 is undefined. Okay, so when it involves 0, we got to be careful where it's located. So, well, let's take a look at the first one. This first one is kind of like the first property. It's not quite, but it's pretty close. Any non-zero number divided by itself is 1. Well, it's not exactly the same because one's positive and one's negative, but I think you can kind of see that that's going to have to just equal -1. So, all right, so this last one, I'm going to just write it both ways. So in this case, one of these is equal to 0 and one of these is undefined. So which one's which? Well, okay, let's read it again. 0 divided by any non-zero number is 0. 0 is first, which means 0 is on top. So that means this one has to be equal to 0. But any non-zero number divided by 0, which means it's on the bottom, is undefined. So this one's undefined. So we can't have 0 on the bottom. That's really the big thing. 0 on the top is okay. 0 on the bottom is a no-no. So, all right. I told you that was going to be quick. So, next lessons is going to be looking at 1.5 and 1.8. I know it seems a little weird, but you'll see why I put them together in the next video. So, see you soon.